If I could have your attention here in the Media Center, we will continue on with our Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series post-race media availability for the 58th Annual Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. We are now joined by the crew chief of the #2 Auto Trader Ford for Team Penske, Paul Wolfe, and the team owner, Roger Penske. Paul, we'll start with you. It seemed like you folks had a really good car. That 4 was the class of the field, but you guys had a lot of speed in that Blue Deuce today. Talk about the final restart and what powered you to victory.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a long day, and we had our fair share of issues and adversity we had to overcome, you know, with the tire trouble there mid part of the race with the right front coming apart. And then we had to come back down at one point for some lug nuts on the left rear. But, you know, Brad just drove a smart race. I mean, it's all about managing your tires and taking care of your car. Such a long race here. And, you know, it's easy to get down when we have issues like we did. But he stayed focused all day and was able to get us back in position there at the end. And the 4 was definitely strong, but we felt like we weren't far behind. And, you know, when he had his issue there at the end, we were able to capitalize on it. So it's just a perfect example of never give up, and we didn't do that today, and this team deserves the victory.
Roger, this is the 2nd consecutive victory for Ford Performance here in 2017. Has to give you a really good feeling going into the rest of the 2017 season.
Well, as you know, we made the move to Ford several years ago, and you know, when they said they were going to bring on Stuart Haas, we said, well, that's great because we really get some teammates. We get to benchmark, and certainly today, you know, my heart goes out to Kevin, certainly as he led the race, controlled it, and then had that issue. But it's interesting when you go back and you think about the stop where Brad actually beat him out. I think that had him on a little bit of an edge there on that last, when he had to go out on his last pit stop, that's why he maybe stepped on a little bit more. But, you know, for Ford, it's terrific that we kick off the season, you know, certainly with Kurt's win last week and the win this for us. So it's a great start to be in the chase. To win a race here in Atlanta, this is a long race, a tough race. You could see it. Some great cars, you know, had trouble. But at the end of the day, we're thrilled with the weekend we had. We had a good run yesterday with Xfinity, which, you know, we were kind of weak last year. So we think that, you know, we kept some momentum we had at the end of the year with Joey, and we brought it in here this weekend. And I guess it's a Ford 1 Team Penske this weekend. So we'll take this one and go home quick.
Good deal. We'll open the floor for questions. We'll start with Jacob, then go to Mike, and then to Bob.
Jacob Seelman, Performance Motorsports Network for Paul. When you have a day where you've got the problem at lap 118 with the tire issue and then the loose lug nuts later in the race, I heard Brad, and this race felt different because he was so calm with you guys on the radio all day. On a day like this where you have to rally and still get the win, what do you have to keep telling him and or yourself during the course of the race to make sure you guys don't lose that focus and keep shooting towards the goal?
Well, it can be tough. It can be frustrating at times for sure, and I think that's where, you know, when we get in a race like we were today, that's where Brad really shines, when he's got to be a leader and keep everyone focused and not get down on anyone, and he did that. He kept the guys motivated and showed that he wasn't going to give up on it. And you know, the guys didn't either towards the end, as we had plenty more pit stops after that, and the guys did a great job. Just a solid team effort, and you know, it's all about staying focused.
Go next to Mike, and then to Bob, and then to Stanley.
Mike Nutt from FrontStretch.com. This is also for Paul. In theory, you only need 3 lug nuts tight to keep the tire on, but we've seen in the past that just one loose lug nut can be a problem. At what point, or what was your reasoning behind bringing him in if only one lug nut was loose? Did you decide you had to have all 5, or was there more than one that was actually loose?
No, we felt like we weren't confident that there was more than one loose. So, you know, our pit department does a great job of trying to monitor that. And we, you know, all the teams have these great cameras these days. You can see when these guys are hitting lug nuts, and we try to do the best we can to understand, you know, if someone's missed lug nuts, we have an idea what we feel like we need to be tight, to not have a loose wheel, and we were in a point where we felt like it was best just to come down and make sure they were tight, and we felt like there was still enough time to recover and give us our best finish.
Go next to Bob, then to Stan, and then to Nate.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Paul, any idea why why there were so many guys speeding on pit road? Were you guys doing anything conservatively to make sure that you didn't?
Honestly, we played it like we normally do. You know, there's the timing segments anymore are really short. I don't know if that catches guys off because you don't have a lot of time to give back, I guess, if you will, with the short segments. So I don't know if it was related to that or guys have just trying to step it up a little bit. But we definitely saw a lot of them. But you know, we kind of ran our numbers what we felt, and we didn't have an issue. So I'm not really 100% sure on that.
Stan Kriegman with Outside the Box. Roger, you've experienced so many victories, I'm sure it's hard to remember every single victory that you've experienced. But when you get a victory where a team has struggled all day and they never give up, does that stand out special for you?
Well, I think that's the DNA of our team. You know, we've had a lot of diversities, you know, over the years, and we had some wins. But I think if some of you are listening to the radio, Brad said after we came in the pitch, he said, "Hey, we're all one team. We're going to go here." And he said that on the radio to the guys, and I think that was key. And I think if you watched him during the race, he was managing his tires. He knew that he could hurt the right front, and I think at the end there when he had to go, he still had something left. Now, could we have caught the 4? Probably not, but no, that's a special win for us. And that's what we have to be, because you end up, you lose more than you win in this sport, so I think that makes you tougher and stronger.
Go next to Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Roger, Ford obviously starts 2017 now 2 for 2 and so strong with the addition now of Stewart-Haas Racing. You mentioned benchmarking. I know that you guys prefer to have the unfair advantage, but are you working a little bit more with the SHR teams, or is it the benchmarking that you guys are each pushing each other to do more to start this year?
Well, I think, you know, obviously we worked with Roush last year. They weren't quite as competitive as maybe we were, but we knew coming in with Stewart-Haas that, you know, they were going to be, you know, guys that could set a bar for us. In fact, you know, we built some chassis for them, you know, before Daytona, some center sections, and we had our cars in the wind tunnel, compared them. So we know what they have, they know what we have. Then it's up to, you know, the guys like Paul and certainly the SHR guys to set the cars up and we race them. But I felt that the camaraderie at Daytona is something we haven't had for a number of years, because we've pretty much been by ourselves, and I think that that's made us much stronger. But from a comparison standpoint, I think that we need that, because if they're better than we are, we got to figure out why and vice versa, and then we'll shoot it out on the track on the last lap or the last 10 laps, and I think that's what happened today. But it was good from a Ford perspective when you see 2 or 3 or 4 cars in the top 5 or 6. You know how strong the Toyotas have been and the Chevys have been. This gives us at least a chance to say we're on par with these guys now. With a couple of wins, I'd have to say we might be an inch or 2 ahead.
Any additional questions for these gentlemen? Gentlemen, congratulations again on the victory, and good luck next week in Las Vegas.
Thank you very much.